Hello, everyone. This is Oscar from DEOLE. Welcome again to our Ecosystem OS webinar. It's been a while since our last online session in which we introduced our AI assistant product for the context of innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystems. Since then, many good things have happened on our side, specifically with the progress in the adoption of our AI assistants with different use cases that will hopefully bring in future webinar editions. At the same time, these use cases are also bringing new and very exciting future scenarios that will impact one of the most important challenges in the field of startup ecosystems. I'm talking about now the ecosystem fragmentation issue that it is very well known in this context. So basically, this is what we are bringing here today: a solution based on our AI assistants to break down startup ecosystem silos and can put information to flow and work for the benefit of all the ecosystem actors, not only the entrepreneurs, but also the supporting organizations, the governments, the investors, etc. For the session today, my co-founder, Valto Loikkanen, is also here with me. Both of us will go through this presentation. This webinar is also being recorded, and the recording will be also shared together with the presentation materials afterwards. All right, so then let's get started with the session, starting with bringing some basic context about the problem that we are looking to solve. And if you are looking from the context of a startup ecosystem from the lens of the organization that is looking after the conditions of the whole ecosystem to generate more economic growth through innovation and entrepreneurship, this is in a very high level the kind of ecosystem development cycle that is happening everywhere. So we need to make sure that we are making the life easier for entrepreneurs when it comes to help them get the resources that they need in the startup journey. And in order to do that, so it's very important to collect information about basically the activities and the interactions that the entrepreneurs and startups are doing with any ecosystem actors, with support organizations, with resources, etc. And based on that information, collected information, so then basically you start to getting a more understanding and some insights about what's going on, what are their main challenges, and how we can basically support them through new programs, new services, new funding instruments, whatever. So this is basically the cycle to run, and the importance of collecting the information from the ecosystem is basically to make the whole ecosystem more intelligent and understanding with more clarity and with more accuracy what's going on to effectively support startups and entrepreneurs. And from a visual perspective, so it's quite clear that if your understanding of the whole ecosystem is poor or it's very narrow, so then by default you are doing wrong assumptions, and basically it will lead to wrong conclusions, and then therefore all the instruments, all the programs that you put in place to support entrepreneurs and startups are not fitting their reality, and therefore at the end of the day the impact in the territory will be very low. So that's basically the reason why it's very important collecting information and getting clear insights and accurate insights about what's going on. So those core activities are, I would say, very relevant when it comes to developing the ecosystem. And basically, the problem with the fact of collecting information is because there are many challenges, many issues around the complexity of ecosystems. So ecosystems are multi-stakeholder environments where the information is basically spread through different places, systems, applications, and so forth. So then, from the perspective of anyone looking to coordinate and bring more efficiency to the process of developing the ecosystem, it's very hard to collect the information from each of those actors and get a clear picture. So the information is quite fragmented. The information is not flowing between the different actors. Most of the time, the information is out to date, and there's limited access to that. And the process of collecting the information is very manual and so forth. So all those challenges, all those obstacles are, I would say, part of the nature of startup ecosystems right now. And that's the reason why we need to find a better way to fix that kind of problem. So looking specifically to collecting information, so it's very also important how, in this context, how startups and entrepreneurs behave. So, when any entrepreneur, any startup is looking for specific resources, specific connections, specific programs, whatever, so they are basically circulating very randomly with the different ecosystem actors in search of new support. And that basically, from the perspective of the organization looking at collecting information is quite complex. So how to capture, how is information captured now in the startup ecosystem in this scenario? So basically, things are done now very manually. So basically, we have been there in the process of collecting information for different kind of projects, specifically for ecosystem mapping projects. But the process is always the same. You try to identify first all the actors involved in supporting entrepreneurs. Then you try to meet with each of them and have separate conversations with them to get a picture about their perspective, and then once you have gone through that process with all the actors involved in your ecosystem, so then basically you try to extract the conclusions and make a clear picture of what's going on at ecosystem level. So this process is very limited because it only depends on the number of people that can have this kind of interviews and conversations with all the actors, not only with support organizations, but also with entrepreneurs, with the startups, etc. And then the information is not shared, and then the whole thing is very manual. So again, we have to find a way to improve this because startup ecosystems are very dynamic. The conditions are are changing all the time, and there should be a process that catch up with that dynamic within the ecosystem. So then we bring here, like, on top of the in-person or manual process, which is still relevant, we need to bring something to complement this new scenario. And this is basically what we are bringing here today, how a digital solution can essentially bring more efficiency to this process, and also improve the quality and the accuracy of the picture that you need to get in order to effectively support innovation and entrepreneurship. So I will pass to you, Balto, and then you can continue from here.
So yes, so when we look through the lens of the AI assistants, basically we have kind of a first time in the history of applications. I would say there's a entirely new layer of application type built on top of existing applications, if you will. So if we think that all the different applications that exist there today, the AI models empowered with this new LLM models kind of create an entirely new different layer that can utilize that information and other also unstructured data on top of the other existing data. And this is also a much more better user experience specifically to accessing information. When we look at the AI assistants in the context of innovation entrepreneurship ecosystem, the primary function to start with is really to enable interaction with information to various stakeholders that are most common in the startup ecosystems, like entrepreneurs, investors, service providers, and so forth. So giving a simple and fast and convenient access to information with basically starting from a chat interface to basically just ask for that information and get a response with the information. So the key points of this, of course, from the end user perspective, is interacting with the ecosystem information that can be knowledge about building companies or asking about team building or whatever that may be. And then the other part of that is actually also capturing real-time information. So it's not only distributing knowledge and information, but at the same time when that those interactions happen, it is a new way of capturing information, real-time information of what's happening in the ecosystem. So here we have an example of Oscar's AI assistant version that is basically has the knowledge about team building, specifically in the context of innovative startups. So how to build team, how to find co-founders, what type of shareholder agreement to work on, and so forth. So basically, this can be helpful in answering all types of questions related to team building and startup team foundation. It can also automatically discuss in pretty much any language. So the knowledge is provided by Oscar, and then the AI assistant provides the interaction with the knowledge by multiple languages. So basically, this is more from the end user experience perspective. And then when we look from the other perspective, is how do we capture information? And this is basically an example of capturing interactions that are happening. These are captured anonymously, so the users are not identified, but all of the interactions of what is being asked and what is the AI assistant responding is captured from every single interaction. So then it's more about where these AI assistants are deployed and what knowledge should they utilize is what then defines, for example, also what type of information you are collecting. And while this looks quite simple, it's actually the underlying interactions. Of course, you can not only extract basically the metrics side of it, how much is used by what type of interaction point, like from which AI assistant and so forth. But these interactions can also be analyzed for insights to know exactly what type of questions are more often asked, what type of information is most needed, and so forth. So the key is really in the context of ecosystem and improving the conditions for the entrepreneurs and other stakeholders in the ecosystem is actually to know exactly at scale and in detail what type of interactions are happening and what type of topics are being discussed in a fully automated way. So then the approach is for ecosystem, the approach should be to focus on making dedicated AI assistant per different topics under different support organizations and different types of websites, if you will, so that you can have an army of different types of dedicated AI assistant specialized in different activities. You could have event coordination, startup assessment, team building, funding, grants, and so forth. And when you divide these topical AI assistants this way, you also improve the information capture, because now you can basically not only know which AI assistants are most used in highest demand, but then also you know very detailed sub information about what type of information is requested from funding and grants aspect, for example. What are the dialogues? And it's not only questions and answers to those, it's also any dialogue that goes, for example, asking help of doing a funding application or whatnot. So it's very rich source of information to be able to capture all these different interactions at scale from all the AI assistants in real time. So now, as mentioned, these assistants create a whole new application layer, and these types of defining moments don't happen often in the land of technology in general, where basically we can say that all existing applications are going to be one way or the other either replaced or revamped to include this type of AI component, AI interaction component to it. So when we look at the traditional ways, because we've been working with ecosystems for years and helping them build architectures and infrastructures, how they can capture data from their ecosystem. These are basically always based on trying to build interoperability between existing applications that already are there. But never has there been in the recent history, if ever, a moment when an entirely new set of applications are going to be laid over on top of the existing applications. That gives a very different opportunity to build the interoperability and information capture like never before. So this is what the AI assistants will enable at ecosystem level. So basically, the deployment of doing this is typically the entrepreneurs or startups journey as they mature involves interacting with multiple support services and touch points within the ecosystem. So starting from university to going to incubation programs, having some advisory, going through an acceleration program, participating into tens, if not hundreds of events, interactions with legal support, accounting support, co-founder matchmaking events, funding applications, and so forth. So how the companies and startups mature inside of ecosystem is going through these different touch points. And now what is the deployment approach to make this possible in your ecosystem is basically to introduce AI assistants in each of these service interaction points, not as a replacement, but as an addition, for example, into first touch point level, and to also to cover all the most common questions, and then extending that a bit further to, for example, mentoring, general advice, general guidance levels, and then further along as time moves forward and you improve the knowledge that you provide through these different AI assistants, then you can expand that further and further in how much they can cater for the questions and needs of the entrepreneurs and other stakeholders. Needless to say that these are available 24/7 without any kind of capacity limitation or such, and they can talk in any language, including in any ecosystem. For example, those in startup world, there's a lot of different people from different countries involved in building these companies. So these AI assistants are always available, and they can do as long or as short sessions as needed. And at the same time, they are capturing all these insights from the perspective of improving the conditions for entrepreneurs, improving the ecosystem, knowledge availability, for example, needs of new services or missing services, whatever that may be. And never has this type of information ever been possible to capture before. And if so, it has been extremely long manual mapping, interview, research, survey type of interaction that is often done once in 3 years, with that project taking about 3 to 6 months to capture these types of insights. With this approach with AI assistance at ecosystem level, this type of information can be available real time, feeding insights on daily basis, where those looking to understand what is happening in the ecosystem, there can be an AI assistant basically just that takes the information from the insights captured and answers questions, for example, for the economic development, for development financiers or ecosystem developers, for the questions that they have about their ecosystem and what should they do about that. So it's an entirely new level that is possible going forward. So the key aspect here is also that these, obviously, when we talk about ecosystem level, that these AI assistants are not individually siloed, but they are interconnecting with each other. So as a technical architecture simplification, we basically can look at it this way, that we have a trusted information repository that includes the knowledge information that the AI assistants are using to communicate information that those interacting with them are consuming about, local funding instruments, grants, whatever that may be. Where do I register a company in a specific city, and so forth. And the key here is that it's trusted information that these AI assistants are using, and this information repository is the place from where this information comes from. But at the same time, also the insights that the interaction information is captured and fed back to the information repository in the form of basically messages, like those examples of interaction messages, and also data as the metrics, the statistics side of the usage of this. And then from here, again, through traditional software processes and also enhanced with these AI models, very rich insights can be made available for those who need this information about their ecosystem. And then these insights discovered also can be obviously fed back for redistributing that information through AI assistants to anyone who that information is wanted to make available. So basically, this is what we are providing as a DTOLE, as an basically end-to-end solution for any ecosystem wanting to initiate this ecosystem level AI assistant journey, and basically start deploying these connected AI assistants. Where also, by the way, for example, if there's a co-founder matching AI assistant, and then the person interacting with that is asking, for example, something about investors or whatnot, then this AI assistant can refer to another AI assistant that is more knowledgeable about that topic to interact with. So they can also recommend each other knowledge. And all of the knowledge that they, in a specific ecosystem that they utilize, is fully controllable and manageable by those who are responsible of the ecosystem development at local level. And basically, we just provide the technology, the infrastructure, and the software as a service approach to start this. And then, of course, this can also be built more as a dedicated deployment, but that's definitely not a starting point that we would recommend. So how to deploy these AI assistants within the ecosystem is basically, typically these types of infrastructure initiatives are deployed and funded from the government perspective, either direct government organization or government funded and or mandated organizations. So a similar example, you could think of the mobile networks in different countries as they emerged. Initially, the mobile networks were typically directly owned by governments, but then later on, those have become privately operated networks that operate with a regulated environment with a government mandate, with basically a license to operate, if you will. So the key is to control when you control the information that these AI assistants are delivering to those stakeholders in your ecosystem. Through that lens is the only way to control the AIs. And when you control the AIs that are used in the ecosystem, you are actually controlling your own sovereignty. So basically, without being able to control the data, knowledge, and information, both distributed and captured, you are not in control of your own economy, if you will. So this is from the deployment perspective, and when we look at the value that is derived from these AI assistants, we can look through a couple of different lenses. So the most important being the new talent and entrepreneurs, those who build new innovations and new companies and scale them up for the economic benefit in the markets. And support providers, those who typically are there to help them with all of the different types of services and instruments. For example, funding instruments, office space, co-working space, event space, mentor matching, and so forth. So these support organizations, you can consider them being like a bus stops or so forth that entrepreneurs navigate through in their growth journey. And then ultimately the economic development units who are responsible of their own economic region, economic development. So these are typically city, region, or national level economic units that basically, for the most parts, set the rules, set the policies, provide funding, and enable, for example, subsidized or free services to be provided by support providers where the costs are covered by the public sector funds. And of course, the dynamics between these are that these new ventures generate jobs and business growth that both contribute for tax income, and then it's a redistributing part of that tax income to improve the conditions on the organization. So the AI assistants bring different benefits and insights of different perspectives for all of these key aspects. So the types of information that can be captured from statistical perspectives, we can look at things like usage statistics, frequency of use, user engagement, user profiles, segmentation analysis. In simple terms, we can think what type of actors from which roles are asking what type of information from which AI assistant at what time for what purpose, and so forth. So out of these, we can then generate success metrics, outcome analysis, and many other things. So the biggest problem in the ecosystems is access to data, access to information about the ecosystem. And as said before, these typical projects to get there has been extremely complex, manual, slow, and to be fair, in most ecosystems, close to impossible to get completed inside inside a time period that fits inside the democratic country's decision makers timeline. So oftentimes these types of infrastructure projects that are needed for let's say economic ecosystems are extremely difficult to deploy. Other statistics we have obviously feedback based on the users interacting. How well did the needs were covered by the AI assistant directly, or with its guidance towards to human knowledge, mentoring, and so forth. Trend analysis, adoption trends, predictive trends. When more and more data becomes available, then also predicting becomes more easier, specifically looking from the lens of repeating patterns, and then looking forward of what is likely to repeat also going forward, and how often. Operational insights, how effectively are the resources allocated, basically looking directly the usage and the problem resolution value compared to the cost. Compliance rates, learning and development, improving the capabilities, learning outcomes. How can we see, for example, assessing the time when AI assistant was initially applied to, let's say, 6 months, 1 year later, of how has the knowledge levels improved based on the types of questions asked, for example. More straightforward KPIs then, user engagement, active users, sessions frequency, performance, efficiency, effectiveness, user satisfaction. So there's a lot that can be extracted from information as long as we are able to capture it. Adoption and growth, KPIs, learning and development, operational efficiencies, strategic impact. And then when we look at aggregated level, we can then compose not only various interactions from various AI assistants, but also compare with the metrics and KPIs with the actual information that has been consumed and delivered. and basically aggregate this information at any level. So a user role type, a specific geographical focus area, like a part of a city or whatever that may be. And we can do comparative analysis between different AI assistants, different services, between, for example, female entrepreneurs, male entrepreneurs, and so forth. And overall, obviously, all of these combined contribute for total impact assessment of the economic development budgets versus the growth of the economy through the lens of growth of the companies. So the more companies there are, the more they are growing, and the faster they are growing, those are the compounding factors for the economic growth through innovation, entrepreneurship, ecosystems. So when we look through the lens of pricing, so before going into the specifics, I want to summarize and give an example that this type of technology approach and its capabilities compared to the past technologies, applications, so traditional applications, API interfaces, data models, data structures, interoperability, all of that. Let's say a relatively mid-sized capital city in Europe, for example, a typical project of resolving such infrastructure project that, let's say, governments typically put out to resolve that problem, like through the lens of procurements that we have participated, and we typically look like is a budget between 1 million and 2 million. So let's say 1.5 million for a project that will take 2 to 3 years of implementing, gradually built. So that gives us a typical timeline when someone is trying to build AKA interoperability through a lens of connected applications and portals to capture this type of information from existing applications. When we compare that to the lens of doing this now with these AI-based technologies, and with the opportunity of basically deploy a entirely new application layer that by all measures is way easier to use and more convenient to use, giving better user experience, and at the same time capturing higher quality information. The speed of deployment is 10 times faster. So if you think that it's 2 to 3 years, typically this can be done in about 3 to 5 months. And if we look at the cost, it's like 10%. So if you think like 1.5 million, now you can think like 150K. So it's quite no-brainer that those types of past approaches, past application infrastructure approaches are nowhere near competitive going forward with these new technologies, when we can get there 10 times faster at 10% of the cost. So we have basically the software as a service approach for this ecosystem level AI assistant deployment, and they start from 700 a month up to 1,300 a month, and then beyond from there. With the 700, you can already get 10 AI assistants with all the interoperability, insights, and so forth included. And it operates in a global information repository And then in the ecosystem 360, you will also be able to get your own dedicated information repository. This is mainly from like whether it's separated repository connected globally, or whether it's just running directly on the global repository. And then when we go to custom installations, then that's basically more based on establishing a project and looking at how do we want to go about this. But we would definitely highly recommend anyone starting to this path to start from the ecosystem 180, because you can always scale up and change your approach, or scale your approach, or accelerate your approach as needed. So I also want to re-emphasize what does the higher quality of information and data mean from the ecosystem development perspective. It basically means that the level of information detail is significantly higher than any existing or past information collection approaches have had. So it's extremely rich in detail and extremely rich in volume of information captured. It's also the level of accuracy considering the types of details being asked. So it's not only manually reading those messages, it's using these AI models to assess sentiment or any other aspect of dialogues had, like what was the target of the dialogue, was it resolved, so forth. Needless to say, the volume is significantly higher, and finally also the velocity of this information. So comparing a typical data collection effort by a ecosystem mapping project done at best once a year with the 3-month collection effort costing around 50 or 100K per ecosystem, to having real-time velocity of this information coming constantly and being automatically analyzed for responses as needed. So that's it from my side. So I'll pass on back to you, Oscar, and I think we are happy to take any questions there may be.
Yes, thank you, Valto. Yes, so we got to the end of the presentation. So now we are happy to take any questions that coming from you all. So yeah, go ahead. You can drop it here in the chat, or we can also maybe give you the floor if needed. But anyway, the most important thing is that please feel free to ask anything about the content that we have delivered today. If not, I can also, meanwhile, I'm giving you also more time to think about any questions. So also specifically about the AI assistance use cases. So we are basically finding different kind of use cases. Right now, the bigger demand is coming from universities interested in setting up AI assistants related to the incubation program that they are running. Basically, this AI system or they are more focused on providing general information about the incubation program. So what's the incubation program about? What are the sessions, the schedules? Who are the partners involved? Who are the mentors that are taking part in the incubation program, and so forth. So basically trying to improve the customer support from the incubation program by automating this kind of information delivered to the startups and entrepreneurs looking at applying to those programs. We are also building AI twins of mentors participating in those programs. So basically trying to drastically reduce the waiting time for any entrepreneur who is looking for fast answers to the most immediate questions related to their journey. So then basically what we are doing is that some basic expertise coming from the mentors are basically replicated into the AI assistant, and then do it that way so the mentor is more accessible, is more available, his time or her time is scaled, and then that basically means that also the mentor has more time to basically to provide more, creative thinking or strategic thinking in the process supporting entrepreneurs and startups. So yeah, so these are like for some examples that we are developing. So yeah, I'm trying to look at the chat, but it seems like there are no questions from the audience, so that is always a question mark. We don't know if it were too clear or it was not so clear for the audience, but anyway, we can always take those questions afterwards, and you can always reach out to us over email. So I think we are done. Balto, do you have anything from your side before concluding?
Yes, so maybe I could just raise one point from here. So obviously now when we have gone through the materials, one of the aspects is of course privacy, and privacy is obviously very important topic, specifically with the GDPR European led example on that. So in these initial levels, basically the privacy is looked more from the lens of anonymity. So the specific users interacting with the AI assistants are not identified. But when we go further into the capabilities and levels, we have also ability to enable very rich user information usage, basically to know more about users being logged in, and then being able to also use their own data from their side, for example, about their business or about their profile, and so forth. So then to make the privacy topic covered, we are partnering with Prefina, which basically is a platform that provides privacy technology and personal data management solution, and that way we can use highly sensitive data also in those interactions without exposing any privacy details when we capture the data from the interaction.
So as we don't have more questions here in the chat, so then let's finalize here. Thanks everyone for attending. Hopefully you got a good understanding about what we are basically pursuing and what we want to implement. Hopefully in the short term, with working with cities and regions in general all around the world. So yeah, thanks again for your time, and then see you hopefully soon. Bye.